Good Sunday morning and welcome to Inside Tennessee along with my colleague John North. I'm John Becker, and with us, our guest this morning has what you may call a boring title that actually has a very important role in state government. Comptroller Jason Mumpower is with us. Thank you for being here. We're going to get to your role as the money cop in just a moment. Let me introduce our panel first. Susan Richardson Williams is a Republican, longtime panelist, longtime owner of her own PR firm.
Good morning.
Democrat Don Bosch is with us, longtime owner of his law firm.
Good morning, gentlemen.
And if anyone gets a call from the comptroller's office, often their second call is to someone like Don Bosch.
Yes, that has happened more than once.
Or me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then I call Williams and say,
and their
help
face
us.
goes white.
So, Comptroller Mumpower, let's talk about your role and just the depth of your role in this state in looking at money and how it's spent.
Thank you very much for having me first. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. I am the Comptroller of the state of Tennessee. If I'm asked to sum up what we do quickly, you cited what we tongue-in-cheek say we're the state's money cop. We have 625 comptroller team members across Tennessee, 8 offices from east to middle to west. Every day we're looking out for the tax dollars, the money of the people of the state of Tennessee. We're making sure it is spent as it is supposed to be. We're making sure there is no fraud, waste, or abuse in regard to tax dollars, whether that's a federal tax dollar, a state tax dollar, or a local government tax dollar. Even utility tax dollars in Tennessee are something we're looking out for every day. And you talked about folks calling Dawn after they get a call from us. That's why I always say it's always better to call the comptroller before the comptroller calls you. That can save you a call to Dawn.
Yes, those that make that mistake are the ones that call me first.
And these are serious investigations in many cases of mismanagement, public officials using money in a way that they shouldn't. Explain an example of that. It doesn't have to be something that we're seeing right now, but in the past, what has the comptroller done that may surprise some of our viewers?
Well, the thing we are probably most famous for, if your viewers have heard of us, are our investigations. It's certainly our most demanded service. Across Tennessee, we have a number of investigations going on, probably more than 160 right now across the state.
Several in this county that have been announced.
Well, I can't say much more or anything about ones that are open, but talking about ones that are closed, in calendar year 2025, we have found everything from, almost $1 million multi-state kickback scheme to somebody, a parent volunteer in a school organization stealing, just keeping the field trip money, $750. But you know what? If it's somebody taking $750,000 or $750, Don, I'm sure you would agree, getting arrested messes your life up.
It will change your perspective.
But if you're stealing taxpayer money or you're stealing citizens' money, we're going to come after you for that. Again, the investigative service, most demanded service, probably most well-known service, but not at all our only service.
One last question for me, and then I'll defer to John, but what percentage of your cases are built from insider information versus cases that are built from outsiders saying, I think this is going on?
Well, it's tough for me to give you a percentage because it's always changing, but let me say this. We operate by law a 1-800 telephone reporting number. We have a web-based internet reporting number. Citizens of Tennessee, government officials of Tennessee, if you suspect fraud, waste, or abuse, you call and report to us. Your anonymity is protected by law. We receive at least 1,500 tips on average a year. We follow up on every one. In general, about 30% of them merit real follow-up, and we have a team of 36 investigators working across the state every day, looking out, rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse.
As part of that, in some instances, y'all will get involved with communicating with the District Attorney General's office for a particular district. What sort of triggers that? At what point, you all do a lot of audits of agencies and what have you, but what makes you go, we need to call the district attorney's office, or we need to be communicating with them as well?
Well, as a matter of fact, every single investigative report we do is referred to the local district attorney in the jurisdiction, and they make a decision about prosecution. We are not the prosecutors. We are the investigators and the reporters. So as a standard protocol, every report goes to the district attorney. Not everyone merits prosecution.
Right.
Many of them do. Those are the ones you hear about. But everyone, as a matter of protocol, is referred. Many of the investigations come after our routine audit work. We have hundreds of auditors in our office, auditing state agencies, auditing every county every year, every city every year, every utility every year, every not-for-profit that takes a certain amount of government money every year. We work across the state, auditing first, investigating really second.
We're going to take a quick break on Inside Tennessee. Jason Mumpower is our guest, the comptroller with the state of Tennessee, also a veteran lawmaker in the legislature for 14 years. Don and Susan with our questions when we come back. Welcome back to Inside Tennessee. Our guest this morning is the state comptroller in Tennessee, Jason Mumpower. Don Bosch.
So, Jason, just following up on the investigative process, and of course I know it from the other side, as we've talked about earlier, you often pair with TBI and FBI agents depending on whether it's state or federal. Is that correct?
That's correct. We do appreciate the great partnership we have with the TBI and other even local law enforcement agencies, just depending on the venue and depending on the crime.
Right, because your agency doesn't have an arrest power. You simply are an investigator.
That's correct.
So do you ever have issues where you feel, or your office feels very strongly, that certain actions should or shouldn't be taken, and the district attorney in that district or TBI or FBI disagree with you? How do you work those out?
Well, the prosecutorial decision is the domain of the district attorney, and I respect that, and my investigators respect it. Just like any law enforcement agency, whether they're pursuing, a street-level crime, or like us pursuing what you might call a white-collar crime or a financial crime, we recognize the resources of district attorneys are limited sometime. We prepare every investigative report in a manner that we think it is ready for prosecution if the district attorney decides to do that.
Or declination.
Or declination. That's right. So we respect that decision. I'm sure there are times we wish it was another way, but we recognize resources are what they are.
You mentioned that you all work with property assessors. I didn't know
Yes.
that. What is that relationship like? You check records or what? How do you audit them? What
Well, our
happens?
division of property assessments is actually the second largest division in my office. It's a way we interact with Tennesseans every day. The law requires the Tennessee Comptroller to oversee and assist the work of property assessors in Tennessee. Our Tennessee Constitution requires property assessments to be fair and equitable. Property taxes are what make Tennessee run every day. Property taxes are the revenue that funds counties and cities in Tennessee. The only reason Tennesseans can have confidence in paying their property taxes because they know their assessment is fair and equitable. So we work with assessors across the state every day. We have some very small rural counties in Tennessee. We have at least one assessor's office that's just one person, the assessor.
That's a lot.
And so I have staff in offices in Greenville, Knoxville, Cookeville, Murfreesboro, Jackson, who are out in counties every day assisting assessors. So we work every day through our Division of Property Assessments to make sure that constitutional mandate of fairness and equity is upheld in people's property assessments.
I don't think anybody knows that,
And that's been one of the areas you've had to investigate from ultimately a criminal perspective in other jurisdictions.
counties.
Sure, we have, and the law actually gives the Comptroller's Office the ability to kind of, for lack of a better term, take over a property assessor's work if it's not being handled correctly. That's happened close to locally here in Roane County several years ago. It's happening right now in Rutherford County. It's happened in West Tennessee. We look at it really as an opportunity to help that assessor get things on track for the sake of their community.
When you look at the depth and breadth of your investigation, obviously there's a range and many variables about how long those investigations take. Can you give give our viewers a sense of, from the time one of those reports comes in, from the tip line that you mentioned, to the time you may have a report ready, what does that typically take?
Well, let me say that my director of investigations is a 34-year veteran of the TBI. He worked for the TBI. He was, in fact, the assistant director for criminal investigation before he retired there. And I think he says it best. You don't know how long it's going to take until you get in there. I mean, you get in there and you start peeling back the layer of the onion and you find something else and you find something else. And crime often builds on itself. And so, you know, if you get in there and start peeling that back and you find more stuff, you don't want to just leave that behind. So I know that it can take a long time sometimes, but we work to be thorough. We work to make sure justice is served on behalf of the people of Tennessee.
Weeks and months are typically what we can
Weeks
expect.
and months are a starter, yes. Yeah.
I want to ask a little bit more about the why. White-collar crime has always fascinated me because there's a paper trail.
Yeah.
You may think you're getting away with it today, but it's very rare that you don't get caught eventually if you're stealing, whether it's from a church or a government agency. Why do people do it, and why do you think it just keeps going on, and why don't people figure it out? We probably, no offense, probably have some folks watching us who may have had a little bit of a heavy hand when it comes to the kiddie.
John, you're dating yourself. It's an electronic trail now, not just paper.
Well, let me say, I mean, you've asked the question, if we knew the answer to that, we would know, one of the great mysteries of the world. It's unfortunate. I can think of a case specific to my Upper East area that happened in Johnson County. Administrative assistant in a county mayor's office had stolen $40,000, and the mayor came in later and he said, I wonder how she kept taking the cruises. I wonder how she kept taking her grandchildren to Disney World.
Yep.
Is that why good enough to be arrested? Is that why good enough to go to jail? Not in my opinion. So, people's why is subjective to them, but it's never worth it, I assure you.
We're going to take another quick break on Inside Tennessee, but we're going to lean on some of your legislature experience as well and hear what you think of the current legislature and the makeup different than when you were in. We'll be back right after this. Back on Inside Tennessee, Jason Mumpower is the state comptroller, but you also served in the legislature for more than a dozen years. Susan, you know that body well.
Yes, I do. And I happened to be in the gallery when Jason, we thought, was going to be elected speaker. And the Democrats and Kent Williams got together and made a change. Are you happy about that now, or had you rather be comptroller than be in the legislature? I think I know the answer, but I'd like to hear you say it.
Let me say I loved being in the legislature. I was in the State House representing Sullivan and Johnson County for 14 years. I loved every minute of it. I was pleased to be elected by my peers to be Republican leader in the House. I served as the last Republican minority leader and the first Republican majority leader. And I hope to hold that for a while as far as the minority goes. But the speaker thing didn't work out, and looking back, of course, I believe in the providence of God and believe that was providential. I love being Tennessee's comptroller. I wouldn't go back. We have had a series of great Republican speakers since then, have a great Republican speaker now. So I'm very happy, very blessed to be the comptroller of the Treasury.
It's a great job. And you do a great job.
Thank you.
So one interesting thing that your office does, we haven't touched on, most people, when they see a local budget come out, whether it be utility budget, their county commission, their city council, they think once that budget is approved by that body, that's the end of it. It's not, is it? Your office has a big role in that.
Well, that's exactly right. And let me say, the mission statement of my office is simple, 4 words: make government work better. And we work every day to make government work better at every level. The law says that when a county commission or a city council or a utility passes a budget, that's actually not the last step. They then, when they pass that budget, have to send it to the comptroller's office for review and approval before it can be in effect. We get that budget. We have a local government finance team that looks at it, makes sure it meets the corners of the law, make sure it's balanced.
Because that's a constitutional provision for our state.
That stands out in Tennessee. We have a state balanced budget, and we have to have balanced budgets at the local level. Once we approve that budget, then it can be enforced.
And there are examples where you haven't approved those budgets and they have to go back and work those budgets over.
Certainly, that's exactly right. One thing I'll say, in my office, we have a financial analyst assigned to every city, county, and utility in Tennessee. We work with them to make sure their budget is right.
What is your budget in the comptroller's? I had no idea you had 650 employees.
So if you look at my budget on paper, it's about $95 million. About $50 million of that is operational. About $45 million of that is pass-through money, because we administrate the state's tax relief program, which pays tax relief for 100% service-connected disabled veterans, as well as low-income elderly and disabled. So about $50 million operational, about $45 million pass-through.
You're chosen by the legislature, is that correct, to do the job? How does that work, and does that make it sort of a more political job? Does that make you sort of more in debt to the party in power?
Well, I am elected by the legislature. It takes, there are 132 legislators. It takes 67 votes for each constitutional officer to be elected: the Comptroller, Secretary of State, and State Treasurer. Right now, the makeup of the legislature is 101 Republicans and 31 Democrats.
Yep.
I'm of course, well-known Republican. And I appreciate the support of my constituency, the legislature. I was in that body, voted for comptrollers in the past. I think that the legislature expects my office to be what it always has been, and that is fair and independent. And, you know, we don't cut corners or pull punches because of politics. We look for fraud, waste, and abuse wherever it is.
Do you consider your office nonpartisan?
Well, there's no way to take the party out of me. I'm a well-established Republican, but my office operates fairly and independently, and certainly not in a partisan way.
We started this conversation talking about what you do in looking into waste, fraud, and abuse cases. Is there one that stands out? You've seen a lot in your 15 years. Is there one that stands out where you thought, what were they thinking here?
This week?
Fair.
You know, I'll be honest with you. The saddest ones are the smallest ones. This may surprise you, but it's sad. Some of the most frequent places we find theft is in school support organizations. Parents and volunteers keeping the field trip money, keeping the cheerleading money. We find an inordinate amount of theft in volunteer fire departments. People who you know, I guess are well-meaning in their heart, wanting to protect their citizens against fires, but you know, the temptation of keeping that money sometimes is too much. And those are oftentimes small thefts that really mess your life up.
We also see again and again where there's only one person sort of signing the check and approving the check, when it ought to be, if you're touching any money, you've got somebody else, like John's backing me up.
The steward of somebody else's money.
Right.
That's right.
But it doesn't happen.
We have a fancy name for that. We call that internal controls.
Right.
When we find theft, most often it's because of a lack of internal controls. Only one set of eyes on the money, John, as you said.
Yep.
You need, and we offer training. We have budget manuals for local governments. We have budget manuals for volunteer fire departments. We have budget manuals for school support organizations. They're available online for anybody that wants to see them. We offer examples of how to set up these internal controls. It's basic.
You also have online examples of the cases that you've done. That's you send them to us, but anyone who is watching can go to the comptroller's website and see one specific investigation and another.
That's right. You can go to tn.gov/comptroller. You can find all our audit reports going back years. You can find all our investigative reports going back years. You can find the budgets of your local governments online.
And our revenue.
Our
state's revenue.
Yes, our website is a plethora of information. tn.gov/comptroller.
I might make one more reference to something that people don't know about you. I believe the Office of Records Counsel is under you all as well.
That's
is it
right.
not?
We house the Open Records Council. If citizens are having an issue with access to public records or open meeting violations, we have a person that can help them with
That's
that.
important.
Jason Mumpower, we appreciate the time. Thank you very much, Mr. Comptroller, for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to be back on Inside Tennessee with our talk around right after this. Back on Inside Tennessee, we brought the comptroller on because we didn't think a lot of people in our viewing audience would understand that role. Don, you've had to deal with them in the past. This is a key role that many people just don't know about.
No, very much so. They are very important investigative arm in our state. Particularly my reactions or my actions with them involve individuals, usually office holders or people that work in fee offices or political offices that are suspected of doing something wrong. And so not always is that the case, but sometimes it has been. And they work very thoroughly, and then they end up usually partnering with TBI or FBI, depending on the subject matter, and then referring it to a district attorney. That district attorney, remember, is elected usually in the county that these people sit in, so sometimes we'll get special DAs in, but there is a political back and forth with the whole process.
Susan, you haven't been on for a few weeks. We hope you've enjoyed the beach.
I did enjoy the beach.
What's your name again?
Yeah. Let's hear what has caught your political eye, particularly in the state of Tennessee.
Well, there's a lot going on. We have a bunch of congressional seats that are turning over. Mark Green, a congressman, resigned last week, and so there are several state reps that are running for that seat. Then in the 6th district, where Congressman John Rose is now running for governor, we have former Congressman Van Hillary, who was also John Rose's chief of staff, announced he's running, and there's a state rep there, Johnny Garrett, who's running as well. So those two districts are going to be pretty interesting.
Incredible challenges coming against Andy Ogle.
Well, there is a mayor of Columbia who's thinking about running. He is actually Craig Fitzhugh, a former Democrat leader.
Maybe your favorite Democrat in this state.
He is my favorite Democrat in the state.
Other than me, maybe.
His son-in-law is thinking about running against Andy Ogle.
That would be a credible candidate.
He would be a credible candidate.
So that's Congress. Let's talk about the governor's race.
Well, we're all waiting with bated breath to see if Senator Blackburn is going to announce. You know, she announced back at the first of the year that she was thinking about it. John Rose is running. He's going to be in town a lot, off and on. And I think we're waiting to see if Marsha's going to run. Maybe she's waiting to get a Trump endorsement. Not sure what the holdup is there. But
if she doesn't, does Tim Burchett jump in this
well,
race?
does Glenn Jacobs get back in? You know, he announced he would support her. If she didn't run, would he get back in? Because we all thought he was running, you know, for governor.
John North, speaking of Representative Burchett, he made some headlines late this week in the House calling for the testimony of a key person in the whole Jeffrey Epstein saga.
That's right. It's Ghislaine Maxwell who essentially aided and abetted Jeffrey Epstein in getting all of the underage women that we have heard that he targeted. Very disgusting. And Burchett is like, let's hear from her. I don't know. Can they compel her to talk? I mean, it's an interesting move to try to get her to talk.
She's in prison for 20 years.
Probably cannot compel her to talk. She's doing 20 years. I mean, 10-day contempt citations aren't going to mean much.
Right.
But it will be interesting. What I've noted is, the one thing you can say about President Trump is the wilder and the crazier his tweets are, the more you better look at it. And these are off the charts kabuki theater right now. We're going all the way back to Barack Obama and Rush. I mean, and just a basic lawyer knows, great, you think President Obama did something in 2016 that's wrong? Well, that statute is now 5 years too old even to bring. And so, crazy stuff.
Well, it's a good way to deflect.
Absolutely. And why is he deflecting?
If you're headline,
that's what I'd be asking.
You know, if you're on the top fold,
he's in the middle of this.
You try to deflect to someone else.
We appreciate the conversation. Before we leave you, I want to remind you that the August primary for Knoxville City Council is just about on us, and you can watch interviews with every candidate by scanning that QR code. It will take you directly to our website with that article. In addition to that, depending on the top 2 finishers in the primary, we will host all of them, or at least plan to, right here on Inside Tennessee. Thanks for watching this Sunday morning. Have a great rest of your weekend.